Good evening. I am Steve, and this is my Rock and Metal Life. And you betcha I am wearing a Guns N' Roses Chinese Democracy shirt, probably like many of you right now. But this at the time, and I'm telling you, I've never seen one of these out in the wild. They got to be out there, but I am the only person I know that has one of these, and I bought it when Chinese Democracy finally came out off of their website. So as you can tell, that's who we're talking about tonight. This is going to be about Guns N' Roses. They came out with a new single within the last week or two, and it's called Perhaps. And I don't dig it. I don't really care for it. It doesn't have much of anything I want from them at this point. I would say it's clearly from the Chinese Democracy era. And you go online and you read the comments and oh, it's wonderful. It isn't. It's not. It really isn't. Uh, I mean, it's good that they got new music out there. And again, I support all these legacy acts. Uh, putting new music out if they want to, that's fine. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I don't care for the song. Was hoping for something along the lines of Hard School. I really liked that one. And this whole thing where they're just releasing a song here and there, like a lot of bands. Interesting. I don't know where this goes. But I'm going to talk about my long story history with Guns N' Roses. I was right there when all this came about. When the record came out in '87, when they hit MTV, uh, I got the whole operation right here. I got everything from I got Appetite, I got Lies, The Use Your Illusions, which I loved. I loved it then, and I loved it now. I love it now. Spaghetti Incident, which I don't think I've actually played that all the way through more than once. I got that live era. Uh, got the Axl Rose solo project, Chinese Democracy. I've got them all. Well, I don't have them all. The cassette era, I've got up to GNR Lives. Don't know where the case is. That's kind of where I'm at with my cassettes these days. I even have, as you can see, I've got Appetite on CD. I've got Appetite on cassette. I also have Appetite on this, what was once, when it first came out, what is it, the 35-year anniversary or something of, it's the Appetite box set. I want to say it was like $300 when it came out. And I bought it on Black Friday. Like one day I was sitting here, hey, I got an email, it's $99. And I bought it. And if you're into this kind of thing, I would highly recommend it. And I don't know if I should go through it right now. I'll do it in a little bit. Um, it's, for $100, it's not bad if you're big on them. And it's got a whole bunch of it's got a bunch of discs. It's got a Blu-ray audio. It's essentially got Lies as well as Appetite and some other things like Shadow of Your Love that we knew was out there. And then the pictures and stuff are just they're just brilliant. If you're a big junkie on the band. And then you got this dossier looking thing that's got like backstage passes and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm probably not going to go over that anymore. But then I also followed along when things went sour, which was for quite a long time. I went along with Izzy Stradlin with the cassettes. And, honestly, on this 117 Degrees, it kind of surprises me a little. I'm surprised I was still buying cassettes at that point. But I got 117 on cassette or on CD. I got was it River? I got that, which isn't so good. 117 Degrees, and then the Juju Hounds record. Those are really good. At one time, I went through the whole vinyl thing, and I got Slash, the 5 o'clock somewhere. Is that? Or no, that's this one. Yeah, that's just Slash. Here we've got It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and here we've got Ain't Life Grand, of course. Miles Kennedy's involved. I've even got Appetite for Reconstruction, which is all these, glam metal guys, Kevin Dubrow, and Corabi, but Tammy Down, Joe Lestave, Phil Lewis, Steve Summers, all these guys covering Guns N' Roses song, which was a huge thing that a lot of people did for a lot of bands back then. But anyway, here's this big long journey. Oh, and my bootleg Rolling Stones Guns N' Roses shirt from the show at the LA Coliseum, and then I got one of those. But Guns N' Roses, like I say, I was there in '87, and I remember it came out, and I remember thinking, I kind of don't know what this is. The Sunset Strip was, party rock music, and it was, it's one of those bold, maybe visionary, or maybe it's just a happy accident. I don't know, but they came along and they did their thing, and it wasn't the thing that was going at the time. And the thing that was going at the time was as big as it could possibly be. Dokken was huge, Rat was huge, Poison was huge. Everybody of that ilk, basically succeeded and spawned another tier of bands, Bang Tango, Faster Pussycat, on down the line. And those guys did good. Those guys made money. Those guys had big tours. So you got all that going on, and then here comes Guns N' Roses. And I would kind of, I don't know, I've been thinking about this in my mind. I would kind of compare it to, there's like two different things, kind of related, kind of not. The Doors came from LA, and in the Flower Power, Peace and Love era, they were not that. they were not the San Francisco scene. They were doing their thing in LA. The Doors were dark. And of course they've got some very 60-ish sounding stuff that I think, goes with the territory when you're on a major label at the time. But the Doors were dark. The Doors were, no happy endings, no peace and love, stuff like that. And yet they succeeded in that environment. The other one being Metallica, who famously got no love whatsoever from the Sunset Strips area and all the scene down there, and they went to San Francisco, and then they ended up, bigger than all of them. So here's Guns N' Roses, and I've said this so many times, long before grunge came along. Guns N' Roses came on and had huge success with this heavier, darker, more street, I guess if you want to call it, sound and image. And Metallica, same thing. No airplay, zero airplay, no radio singles, nothing. And yet became so big that, the whole thing shifted. And next thing you know, Motley Crue's like no more Theater of Pain. They're wearing jeans and, leather vests, and they're on Harleys. And, Poison does an album where they're all wearing jeans and stuff. And, the whole thing shifts. And then pretty soon what was cool isn't cool, and here we go. Here we go into the 90s. Guns N' Roses, when I first heard it, I was like, man, bluesy, but heavy, hard blues, and thrashy, and kind of punk. And I got the cassette that's got the rape scene. As you can see, it's in there. And I dig it. It got into me like right from the get-go, and I even had friends that were into more, blues-based rock, like like my friends that like Skinner a whole lot more than I do, and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh no, this, you can't be saying the F word, and everything can't be about, the worst things that happen in life, And I was like, I dug it. I thought it was cool, and all that having been said, I am still surprised. I'm just amazed that this right here is what made them into like Led Zeppelin, that level. I dug it, and, I was in a scene that is definitely going to like that. But, really, is Sweet Child of Mine enough, to get the masses, like Def Leppard hysteria masses, like Slippery When Wet masses, that's what it was before. If you could get the people way on the fringes of the rock scene, okay, now you're not, it's not a platinum album, it's like 5 times platinum, that's what hysteria was. It pulled in everybody. Okay, so this thing here, really, you know. Okay, I mean, cool. I'm on board with it, but it surprises me that it went that way. And I would even go further and say, you know, when I see those shows like before they got signed, I don't know how you look at that and say, okay, this is gonna turn into, you know, Appetite and the Illusions, and everybody's gonna love it. It just, you know, it's just a, you know, I wouldn't say it's a blind spot. It's just something that's always, I've always thought it was weird, you know, and you know, I'm glad I was around when it happened. Um, and then to Use Your Illusions, well, actually, I skipped Lies, because when Lies came out, that was when I got the feeling that, wow, these guys, you know, they're amazing. They can do anything. And those raw live shows, you know, the tracks on there that were live, hey, that's okay. That sounds brilliant. You know, to me, it's still too raw to see that they're going to be what they became. But nevertheless, you know, I don't work for a record company. You know, the people that do saw what they needed to see. Um, but anyway, I thought Lies, with the one side, you know, with the clean stuff, and then the live stuff, I just thought that was brilliant. I thought these guys can do anything. And then, you know, down the road, when the Use Your Illusions came out, all this criticism, oh, it should have been one record, and, you know, too grandiose in some spots, and all this stuff. I was fine with it. You know, uh, I was at the record store the day they came out, and I got one of these ones that has this sticker on it, which I don't know if I can. It's so tiny, I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "This album contains language which some listeners may find objectionable. They can F off and buy something from the easy listening section." And then it says like G and F and R something. You know, and again, that attitude and all that stuff, I'm surprised, because even today, especially with this big success that they are today, you know, this band has done everything you can do. They've had all the infighting. They've had band members leave. They've had, you know, long downtime. You know, all this stuff and all this negative, all this dark, and yet they've remained darlings. And it's the coolest thing for, you know, a guy my age or younger to take your daughter to see Guns N' Roses. Oh man, that's, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, when I was a kid, if someone took their, you know, a parent took their kid to see, like, I don't know, Elton John or something like that, that's what they are, you know. And again, it surprises me, because they did all the missteps, and, you know, like, say the lineup changes. I mean, Chinese Democracy, I know it didn't sell well, but Axl toured that, you know, with whoever, you know, 6 or 7 other guys, and you know, they remain on a level that they can do what they're doing this year. And, you know, ever since the, what was it, Hell Freezes Over, or Not in This Lifetime, whatever, I can't remember what it was, the tour that everybody said would never happen, and then they did it. And man, okay, you know, I look at Appetite, it sold 18 million in America, and then Lies, which is an EP, sold 5 million, and then Use Your Illusion 1, 7 million, Use Your Illusion 2, 7 million, and then the Spaghetti Incident went platinum, and I think we had gotten into, you know, things are going off the rails, you know, they're heading that direction, you know, because I don't know, the Spaghetti Incident, I don't know why they came out with that, but they did. And then Chinese Democracy, it's, you know, it went platinum, but, you know, you can probably still go to record stores and see tons of unsold records in there, you know. But I mean, lots of success. And then the legacy act of all legacy acts, you know, they can put out new music if they want, and it's probably going to succeed. They don't have to. And they're doing the touring. And here's where the other big point that I want to get to, and it's the same old point we keep talking about with all of my guys, all of my people. Here we are, and, you know, the song Perhaps, like I say, I don't care for it, and it doesn't bother me if people think it's really good or great. I just don't think it is. But man, I'm telling you, I'm watching these videos of this tour with and Axl's voice. It's over, everybody, okay? You know, and I mean, I hate to say it, it pains me to say it, but it is over, okay? I sat here before I turned this on, and I watched video after video, and I went back to figure out, okay, where what happened? You know, was I wrong a few years ago when I thought he sounded good? 2016 with AC/DC, he's okay. You know, because Axl live, you know, he has that raw part to his voice that live, you know, it didn't always translate anyway. And like the high, you know, on the record, the high is like a piercing scream. Live, it's always been like a little bit more shrill to me. But he was fine in 2016 with AC/DC. Um, you know, and I remember I was impressed at the time. You know, oh wow, I when I heard he was going to sing with them, I thought, oh okay, whatever. He did really well. And so I looked at some other shows, and I actually I stumbled onto Madagascar from this year, like from 2 weeks ago. It was horrendous. Okay, now I think he was having problems because I know that he does the first line and he tells somebody, you know, turn it up or down or something, and it was horrific. I mean, it was terrible. Okay, and so I went all the way back to the MTV Music Awards, and I think it was 2002, where he came out with the football jersey and the braids. It's pretty good, pretty good. He, you know, not quite as good as on the record, but then again, you know, with that record, you know, he was in the studio doing everything you could possibly do. So, you know, time marches on, and you know, I don't know where he starts sounding the way he sounds right now, but he sounds awful right now. And again, you look in the comments and, oh, he was just wonderful. It's just like, you know, it's not. Okay. And, you know, sometimes the comments are just useless. You know, it's just fanboys and girls, you know, saying whatever, you know. And I mean, you know, you can look in the comments and you can see one comment that says, oh my God, he hit every note, he was perfect. And the very next one is, oh man, that was horrendous. You know, how can he sound like that? He should be embarrassed. You know, it can't be both. Okay. And I mean, it's, you know, I'm grateful that, you know, just the people that watch my videos and care what I have to say. You know, I'm surprised people watch my videos and listen, you know, to my opinion. But I mean, you go on social media and stuff like that, and you get, you know, straight propaganda and nonsense. I mean, it's bad. His voice is bad. You know, as bad as mine right now. Just trying to talk, but I mean, he can't do that high stuff, and he seems to not be able to find that sweet spot between the low and the high. And you know, I was considering. I know that like the tickets for this. I think up front they're quite a bit. You know, they're hundreds. You know, if you want to be up front, I know they got a pit section. But the places I was looking at, Phoenix and then San Diego Snapdragon, it was like for $30. You know, if you wanted to be all the way back, you know, and you know, like be up in the stadium. And I thought, you know, I mean, I saw them, you know, I saw them in their day at the height of their powers. You know, that might be cool. I might want to go to. I want to go to a Guns N' Roses get together with, you know, 50,000 people. I'd kind of like to just be there. And man, it's only $30, you know. And these shows I think are Alice in Chains opening, and you know, and it's like I thought, you know, I'll just watch it on the screen, and you know, they'll be out there, but they'll be way out there because they put the stage is all the way out at the, like in the baseball stadium in Phoenix, it's all the way out at the center field fence. So if I was going to sit up high in the $30 seats, man, I'd be a long way away. So I'd be watching it on the screen. But I considered just going there and just being there and, you know, seeing who's around and having a cool night, you know, celebrating Guns N' Roses. But I mean, his voice is so bad, you know, and it's not his fault. I'm not mad at him. You know, he screamed like that for all these years. You know, how should it go? You know, but I'll mention another thing too, and I think that's just about it for this one. In that video for Perhaps, it really stands out to me that over and over again, I mean, at least like 4 or 5 times probably, they show Axl with this big smile, you know, this big, you know, it's almost cartoonish. It's almost David Lee Roth level, you know, and it occurs to me that that's intentional, and it occurs to me that, you know, what I've heard of Axl recently, and you know, I you know, he doesn't have to by any stretch of the imagination, but it seems, you know, and I might be reading too much into this, but if nothing else, he's a nicer guy than he was in the old days, or if he wasn't portrayed accurately, he's out there more of a good guy these days than he ever was. And yes, we've seen him, we know of some things he did that weren't cool, and he's spoken to it. And there's other things that we've heard that I don't know. But it seems I wouldn't go so far as to say like he's trying to rehabilitate his image or anything like that. Maybe it's just a more accurate depiction of who he is, and the band smiling and happy, and this is Appetite for Destruction, those guys. I mean, this is so it's a little odd, but again, good for him. If he wants to make good on, if he has a chance to be a better person, maybe that's all that is. Maybe he's spreading love these days instead of, because like the Use Your Illusions, there's so many songs on there, Get in the Ring and Perfect Crime, just telling somebody off, and this is after you've just had the most successful debut album, all your dreams came true, kind of everything went your way. And then that Use Your Illusions are just full of, just telling everybody to F off. And, it's just like angry is what it sounds like to me. So if he's not like that these days, that's good for him. I personally really appreciate that, because I have been afforded a lot of understanding, and I've had people stick with me to where I'm not quite the jerk I was way back when. And I really appreciate the people that, that are there with me now. Because, I'm not a public figure, nobody outside of my little circle here even knows who I am. Axl Rose is, he's historically a huge figure, and everything he does gets attention, and, so good for him. He's putting on a happy face. The band's putting on a happy face. They're having great success with this tour. If they do put out an album, it's going to do well. It's going to do better than any of our other bands could do, of a lesser, pedigree or whatever you want to call it. So they still have that cachet. And, the band, with all these groups that the singer's having trouble, the band's always on fire. Just every one of them. Dokken, I'm sure Bon Jovi, the band plays really well, even though John's struggling. And so I kind of don't want to go to see him on this tour, because it annoys me how his voice sounds. And again, I'm not, I don't want to be critical of him. That's just the way it is. So, I'm glad I saw what I saw back then, and it's been a great ride. If they never played another show or wrote another song, they're in the history books in a big way. But that's just my rambling thoughts on Guns N' Roses, and the ride up to this point and what they're up to now. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear what other people think about it. Again, the comments are hard to go through on YouTube and social media and stuff like that. But I don't know how you can just say it's like it always was, because it's not. It's not by any stretch of the imagination. But anybody wants to tour, anybody that has the wherewithal that can get out there, I say go ahead. People like me can stay home, vote with their wallet or whatever you call it. That's the free market, or free world, free country, whatever it is. So anyway, Guns N' Roses, checking in 2023 with what they're up to. And again, I might go see them, probably not, but if you want to go see them, go right ahead.